All right, Rob. So while you're busy shooting off nuts and sniper elite, um, shall we talk about my horrible crotch drama?
We should. They're coming.
They are coming. All right. Um, so I had told you the story, but feel free to ask any questions along the way. um, was it roughly about 2 years ago? Jesus Christ. I don't even see these. Hold on. All right, there we go. Um, so roughly about 2 years ago, woke up in the morning, right? Had to pee, as one does, first thing in the morning. Had to pee first thing in the morning, as you do. And there was a sharp pain coming from the old tip of the member there.
Of the member.
At the tip of the member.
We could use medical words. We are adults.
What'd you say?
I said you could use medical terminology. We are all adults.
That is the medical terminology, sir. Tip of the member.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's gonna
That
be
was my mistake.
yeah. It's gonna be my all Irish porno. It's gonna be called tip of the member to you.
God.
It's gonna be it's gonna be brilliant. So, anyways, me being the intellectual that I am, I decided to, oh shit, I'm gonna, oh, what you got? What you got? Nope, missed it.
So close.
So close. So me being the intellectual thought to myself, oh, I must have, kidney stones. I must be trying to pass little kidney stones here. I better drink a lot of water to help pass these. So I continued to drink a copious amounts of water. More water than any one man should ever drink in a short time frame like that. And so fast forward about an hour and a half, and I'm at work, and it's a Sunday morning, and I feel myself, my bladder's getting a little bit full there. So I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom, again, as one does. So I head to the bathroom and I go to the urinal, and I'm standing there and nothing's coming out.
I fell off the cliff.
Is that a thing? Can I get you?
Yes.
Can I? Okay.
I'm way down here.
Okay. So I go to the bathroom. I'm standing there and nothing is coming out. And that's a bit worrisome. But I think to myself, meh. And I go back to work because, we got to just ignore these problems. So I go back to work, and I'm working for a little bit. And, the feeling of needing to go pee is getting just stronger and stronger. So I go back to the, fuck!
You son of a bitch, you killed me.
It took forever to get there, man. You fell pretty good. So I'm going back to the bathroom, and sure enough, nothing's coming out again. This is the point where I'm like, oh fuck, I should probably see if I can do something about this. So I go up to my boss and say, hey, I'm gonna need to head out. I'm gonna go to urgent care real quick, and I'll be back. I told him I'd be back to work because I don't know what I thought this scenario was gonna end with, but I figured whatever it was, obviously it's got to be a quick and easy fix. So yeah. So I drive to urgent care. And as I'm sitting there in the waiting room, did you just hit him with a grenade before it blew up?
Yes.
That's awesome. So while
You took my nut shot. I was
Yeah.
all over that.
You were all over the nuts. So as I'm sitting in the waiting room at urgent care, the doctor actually comes out to talk to me. And I don't know if you've been to Patients First, but usually you don't even see a doctor. Usually it's just the nurse, right? And the doctor actually comes out to the waiting room. And he calls me up. He's like, "Did you you have acute urinal retention?" And I'm like, I mean, I don't know what you want to call it, but sure, that sounds about right. And he goes, "Yeah, there's nothing we can do for you here. You're gonna need to go to the hospital." And I'm like, "Oh, well, this is getting better." So I text my boss. I'm like, "Hey, change of plans. I'm heading to the ER. So depending on how busy they are, I might be a little later than I thought." So I drive to the ER. I tell the lady what's going on. She's like, "Well, when did this begin?" I'm like, "Oh, at this point, probably about 3 hours ago." And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." They get me back there pretty quick. And you know, I have like a hierarchy of people that I'm okay with looking at my junk in these situations. You know, like the scale goes like from most preferred to least preferred. I'd say the scale starts with male doctor of any age.
Yes.
You know, and then like it doesn't matter. Nice. It doesn't matter what age, just male doctor. That's preferred. And then the next step down is like super old female doctor, super old female nurse, middle-aged female doctor, etc., etc. At the very bottom of the list is attractive young college fucking students learning, you know, like attractive females learning how to doctor, like medical students. That's the very bottom of the list that I want examining me right now. And I swear to God, there was a gaggle of them. Like, it was nothing but. And they're all just crowded around me with my pants around my ankles. And the best part is, like, they're looking, they're like, huh. Like, I mean, they're just very intrigued, just staring at my penis. They're like touching around the bladder. "Does this hurt?" And I'm like, yes, it does. It does hurt when you push down on that. Please cut that out. So the fucking doctor comes in. And this guy, it was a male doctor. This guy comes in, and he's looking, and he's like, "Well, you know, are you sure? Maybe it's there could be a UTI. Sometimes UTIs make you think you have to pee, but you really don't." And I'm like, "Sir, I haven't pissed in hours, and I drank a shit ton of water. I'm telling you right now, I have to pee. Like, this is a real deal. I'm not making this up." And he's like, "All right, well, this feeling. Very familiar. I'm very familiar with having to pee, sir. I've been doing it for 33 years. So they go get an ultrasound. They do it. And they're like, "Oh, this is off the charts." I'm like, oh, is it really high? Because I didn't fucking notice. They're like, "No, it is literally off the charts. Like, it only goes to like 500 cc's. And it's like literally just stopped at 500. But we can visually see that it's much higher than that." So we're reaching a point where the urine is about to start building or kicking back into my kidneys, is how high this shit is. So it's quickly becoming emergency levels. And so the doctor's like, "Okay, well, no worries, we're gonna go get a catheter." So the doctor himself doesn't come in with the catheter. They send the gaggle of fucking college students. The gaggle of attractive female college students. Which, I mean, the good news is, right now, boners are not my concern. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. It's just going to be, oh, I just broke my leg. I'm down here on the ground. You're going to have to come all the way back up and save me. So, I'm sitting there, surrounded by all these fucking things. All these attractive female nurses, or doctors, assistants, or whatever the fuck they are. And they're poking and prodding at my penis hole, trying to get a catheter into it, right? So,
What the hell are you?
I'm in the bushes up here. Like, I could not have picked a worse place to be, in all honesty. If we're being honest. So so they're all sitting around and they're poking and prodding with this catheter, trying to shove it up my pee hole. Like, well, you're gonna feel a little bit of pressure, and they keep poking and poking and poking, and I'm not looking at this point. I'm just covering my head in shame. So I'm like, oh, I mean, that actually doesn't feel nearly as bad as I thought it would. You know, like they're like,
may I have another?
they're like, yeah, it's not going in. Hold on, we're gonna go back and get the doctor again. So they go get the doctor. He comes back, and he's looking at it, and he goes, "Huh. All right, we're gonna try something else." And he comes back with a pediatric catheter. So basically, a baby catheter. Because apparently, my urethra is woefully small, to make things even worse. To the point where they can't fit a normal catheter in there. So he comes back, and he's tried to put the pediatric catheter in. And that's not fitting. So he says, oh, I'm gonna need to call a specialist. And I've been here, granted, I've been sitting on this fucking bed now for about an hour. And so we're now a good, 4 hours into this, having me drink a ridiculous amount. Not even paying attention. I've drank a copious amount of water. It's been 4 hours since I've had to pee. And I'm literally, potentially dying here due to urine retention. And they're trying to shove a catheter up my pee hole, and it's not working. So, he just now decides to call in the specialist. So the specialist comes in fairly quickly, thankfully. He comes in, talks to me shortly. He's like, well, we need to get this going. So, these are our options. We do a suprapubic catheter. We could do a suprapubic catheter, which is where we'll basically, and I want to say he put it like this. I may have done this later, but he's like, it's kind of like a Capri Sun, where we just puncture a hole directly into the bladder to relieve you. So basically, a hole coming from the outside of my body directly into the bladder.
Oh God.
Yeah. He said, so that's probably what we're gonna do because it's an emergency situation. I'm like, oh, and at this point, I don't even give a fuck. I'm like, do what you gotta do, because I feel like I'm about to explode. And he leaves the room, and then he comes right back in. He goes, it just occurred to me I didn't even look at this. So, once again, I'm showing a stranger my penis, and we're up to probably about 30 people have seen my penis at this point. And he walks in, he looks at it, for a split second, he goes, oh, I see what's wrong. He said, I think we can fix this without any kind of surgery. Hold on, let me go get my tools. And I'm like, oh, fuck,
Yeah,
what?
let me get my toolkit.
Let me go get my toolkit. So he walks out of the room, and I'm thinking to myself, fucking toolkit? What do we... What kind of tools has he come back with? What the shit is this? And then I hear him outside the fucking room. He talked to the nurse, and he says, hey, nurse, what pain medication is he on? And the nurse says, oh, we haven't given him any. And I hear him say, well, you need to go get some quick. And then they come in. They come back in. He puts down this little, it looks like a fucking pool cue set. Like, he unravels it, like he just carries this fucking thing around. Like, it's like something Jack the Ripper would carry around, except instead of, like, knives, there's no knives in it. They're just a bunch of metal rods of various different thicknesses. And he starts pulling them out and putting them on the counter one by one, like he's so proud of them. Like, this one I
bet he
named...
had a special order on it.
Oh, yeah. It's like, this one's named Steven. This one's named the Annihilator. Like just laying them all out for me. And the nurse comes in with one single shot of morphine. And I look at him, and they put the morphine into my thigh. And I say, Doctor, what kind of pain mitigation are we looking at here? And he says, well, it would hurt a lot more without it. And that is the reassurance that I'm given. So he wastes virtually no time, because remember, this is an emergency scenario. He wastes virtually no time whatsoever, and takes the one rod that I assume he's named Steven. He grips my flaccid, terrified penis in his hands, and proceeds to shove Steven into the pee hole. And he's like, brace yourself. He said brace yourself first, to be fair. And he just shoves it in there and starts churning butter. Like, like there's nothing medical or professional about the way he did this. Like, I don't know why they called a specialist. This is something that a fucking monkey would do. Like, if you gave my son like a piece of Play-Doh with a pinhole in it and a fucking pencil and said, hey, make that hole bigger, my son would have taken the same amount of professionalism as this doctor did and just start jabbing the shit out of it. Like, so after he does that with Steven, he pulls out the next one, which we'll call the Terminator. So he takes the Terminator, and he's
Sounds like this escalates quickly.
It escalated very quickly, and yet still took a long time. Like, so he starts jamming this one in. Like, so one after the other, he keeps just getting worse and worse and worse and just churning butter into my dick hole. Again, while I'm fully conscious and have gotten one single shot of morphine less than a minute prior. Like, even if the morphine worked, I don't know that I had enough time to do anything, you know? So I'm sitting there like screaming. Now, I will give myself credit. They were man screams. Like, they weren't like the nurse didn't even want to look. She looked so worried. You could tell she was trying to have a brave face. She was looking me in the eyes. She's like, it's okay. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. And she'd like look down for a second and then look back at me and like try not to look fucking terrified. Like, she's like, it's you're doing good. You're doing so good. And he's just like, cha 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 cha. And so, like, while he's doing it, he's just churning butter. Then he grabs the Annihilator. And this one is about the size of a fucking pool cue. And he gets it in there and just, I mean, the butter churns have gotten slower, but like more forceful. And so he's just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And the whole time I'm just losing my fucking mind. Like, I probably came close to passing out from the pain. You know, prior to all that, like I was texting my wife, I was texting my brothers and my dad. You know, at one point, Nice. At one point, I was even sharing with my wife the whole thing about, my hierarchy of people who are allowed to look at my penis. And, so yeah, like, I'm not taking any of it seriously at this point. And it escalated to that monstrosity of a situation. And, like, so after he's done churning, he grabs the fucking, the catheter, and he starts putting it in. Which, now, to hear him tell it later, usually putting a catheter in shouldn't be, like, I guess, painful. I guess it's more of an uncomfortable situation than a painful one, right?
It sounds a lot more than painful.
No, I mean, apparently normal situations, it's more of an uncomfortable, like, weird feeling. It's not so much like a, holy shit, this hurts. I don't know, because my only frame of reference is them shoving one up the freshly raw, annihilated penis. Like, and so he's like getting it in there, and at one point he grabs a pair of forceps. Those little, like, they look like a mixture between scissors and tweezers or whatever.
Oh God.
Or pliers. No, and I looked at him, I said, "What are you doing with those?" Like, this is the first time I'd spoken up and actually asked him straight up, "What the fuck are we doing now?" I was like, "Whoa, dude." And he goes, "Oh, this is just for a better grip." And so he's grabbing the catheter with it, and he's just shoving it more and more in, and this thing is long as shit. And he looks at me and goes, "You, my friend, have a very narrow urethra." And I'm like, "Not the fuck anymore, man. What the shit are you talking about?" So he keeps shoving. And he eventually, he's like, "All right, in a minute, you're going to at least feel like, you should feel like the greatest relief you've ever felt in your life."
You're like, unlikely.
Yeah, no. And so the whole time, I'm like, while he's shoving this thing in there, I'm thinking to myself, okay, thank God this should eventually be over, and I will feel the relief of the best pee I've ever had in my life. But I didn't even get that because I was still in so much pain. So when like it broke through to the bladder and it actually started emptying, I was still in so much goddamn pain, and I think the morphine finally let in, that I was even numb to that. Like, I didn't even get the payoff of having the best piss in my life. So, I'm sitting there in the hospital bed, and first off, I had mentioned to them that I had wanted to go back to work. No, that was all over at this point. At this point, I was not going back to work. But they had mentioned, "Oh yeah, well, we'll get you a little bag you can strap to your leg, so you can go back to work." And the fucking bag that they gave me, "All right, buddy." But the thing that gave me was
right
like,
there. Daddy's telling his war story.
Daddy's telling his bad story. So, like, but the thing they handed me was like a fucking briefcase. It was like a clear briefcase, just full of bloody pee. And I'm like, how am I supposed to go back to work with this? I'm not gonna carry this around with me. "Oh, you want something more discreet?" "Yes, I want something more discreet." So they go back and they get this, actually pretty good sized bag. Like, this still wasn't the concealable one, but at this point I didn't care. And they're like, "Okay, well, here you go. Now, do you have someone coming to pick you up? Because legally we can't let you leave. We can't let you drive because of the morphine." I'm like, "Yes, my father is coming to pick me up. I'm going to go outside." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, we can't. You need to stay in here." And I'm like, "Look, I smoke, and after that, I'm going outside. Like, unless you want me to light up in the fucking ER right now, I'm going outside." And the nurse who was with me during the whole ordeal was just like, okay, you go, you go.
I think he's earned it.
I think you're okay. So so after that whole ordeal, I have to go back in. The specialist wanted to see me for a follow-up the next day, and I go in, and he's like, okay, first we're going to do a cytoscopy. Now, a cytoscopy is when they put a little camera up your pee hole and check everything out. But in order to do that again, he said they were going to need to dilate again. Dilate is...
I know what that's code for.
Yeah. Which, I forgot to mention, the first time he mentioned dilate in the ER, I thought to myself, like, when they dilate your pupils. So, in my head, they were just going to put, like, eye drops into it. Like, oh yeah, that sounds fine.
I have that done to me all the time.
That happens. Oh, you're gonna get little sunglasses for it? We're good. And so he's like, yeah, but we'll have to dilate first. And I said, Doc, I'm neither mentally or physically prepared to ever go through that again. I said, if you need to do that to me again, then I am going to need you to put me under. I said, I cannot do that awake again. And so he's like,
did you watch it when they were doing it?
Yes. I mean, as much as I could. You know, like, I didn't, like, it wasn't 100% of the time, obviously, because much of the time my head was back screaming. But no, much of the time I was watching exactly what was happening. And so they bring me in for the next one, and we do the they put me under, they do all the stuff, and so apparently a long-term solution is reconstruction, right? But in order to go through the reconstruction, I have to, which reconstruction is as bad as it sounds. Reconstruction would have come with, I think, 3 days off. Or I'm sorry, 3 weeks off of work. 3 to 4 weeks of rehabilitation. And it would require them to go in, essentially rip out my current urethra. Yes.
I mean, I can't even describe.
And then recreate one using tissue from inside my cheek. So, yeah, so my mouth would be in incredible pain, and, you know, essentially my taint to the tip of my penis would have stitches going all the way down. So this whole time I have to go a full month, because it's required. You can't do the reconstruction until a month after any dilations. Yeah. You can't do it until a month after any kind of dilations because of the scar tissue and stuff, right? So I have to go that full month with the catheter, like working and everything. So I've got the catheter in me, and then it eventually gets to a point where I foolhardy, and I, like an idiot, decided that the catheter was too much of an issue for me, right? Because they said they needed to change it out, But I guess every time they changed out the catheter, they might have to dilate again. And so it might prolong when I could...
You can't take that risk.
No. And so I told them, okay, just go ahead and do the suprapubic catheter. Because I can't go through that again. And I want all of this to be over with as soon as possible. So if we could just go ahead and do that and be over with it. So I allowed them to do the suprapubic catheter. Well, this whole goddamn thing. So the suprapubic catheter, they put me under, they popped the hole. So I've got a hole in my bladder with a tube coming out. Which, that's one of my things. Like, I'm not one of those people who can't look at, like, beehives or whatever. I forgot what, it's like typho whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's that fear of, like, with holes in the human body, like, or weird abnormalities like stomas or amputations. Dimples?
Pimples.
Oh, pimples? Not big ones, yeah.
You never watch my videos, I said you.
No, yeah, I don't do well with big pimples. Like the holes that come after. I don't do well with that. So now I've got a stoma, like, in my belly, right where the belt loop would go, or the belt buckle.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh my god, like, I'm horrified. I have to change the gauze out, and it keeps getting stuck because of the blood or pus or whatever was coming out of the hole. Like, and the first night after I got the suprapubic catheter, I wake up at like 2 o'clock in the morning having to pee. I'm like, oh, that's not good. I'm not supposed to have to pee. And I even check the bag, and it's not, the bag's not even full. So I go in and I try to go pee, and the second I do, like, the second I try to release, I feel the most agonizing pain from my abdomen. Like, it felt like I was dying. Apparently what was happening was I was having a bladder spasm, which, you know, normally you can have a bladder spasm and you won't even feel it. But the problem was, nice. Yeah, buddy, don't watch. So normally you might have a bladder spasm and it doesn't matter, because you can't even feel it, right? But this is like a muscle contracting and all that stuff and freaking out. That has recently had a puncture into it. So imagine, like, you know when you have your arm, like, have you ever had your arm or your calf kind of curl up on you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like that, except imagine there was like a cut or, you know, a puncture wound in that muscle, and then it curled up. So that was the pain I was going through in my bladder. And I was ghost pale, sweating profusely. Like, Marissa thought I was dying. I couldn't move. Wound up at the ER again. Turns out the catheter got clogged with blood. Yeah. So the doctor... Uh-huh. So the... No, not right now here. So the doctor at the ER actually filled a syringe with tap water. Fucking tap water. And shoved it through the catheter. And sucked out the bloody fleshiness. He's like, okay, yeah, you should be good now. And then gave me, like, dilutin, whatever. Whatever that strong painkiller is, and sent me on my way.
Oh, Dilaudid?
Dilaudid, yeah. which, I mean, that worked pretty damn well. But, so I had to call the specialist again. They gave me something that would stop bladder spasms. And then every time I went to take a shower, like, I shower with my shower head on the mist setting now, because when I had to shower, I would have to take that the gauze off, and the only way I would change out the gauze would be in the shower. Like, I had to get the gauze wet, which I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but I needed it to kind of disintegrate a little bit, because it would get sucked into the hole. Yeah, dude, like, I literally would have to yank it out, because as the catheter would move back and forth, the gauze would get pulled in with it a little bit. And, like, so showers took me forever. Buddy, what? I don't know where the question mark is. Alright, I'm down. So it would take me forever to shower because I'm just panicked, and I would take scissors in there with me, and I'm just cutting around the thing. So
Oh God.
So I've got this going on for like a good month, I would say, and then I go in for another checkup, reconstruction, and he's like, "Oh, you know what? And oh, by the way, Coraline was just about to be born. So on top of all of this, my wife is like 38, 39 weeks pregnant. So we're both a little stressed, I would say. And like, so I go back to see the doctor. He's like, "Hey, by the way, I was looking into it, and there actually might be something that we can do that's less invasive than a reconstruction, has a higher success rate, and has a like, it only takes like a week rehabilitation." Like, everything he's telling me, I'm like, this sounds amazing. Why was there ever a different option, you know? And he goes, I mean, the only thing is your penis might look a little, and he pauses for a good bit, and he's like, weird. I'm like, well, I mean, define weird. And he's like, I can show you pictures. I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't need to see pictures. And you know what? At this point, I'm thinking almost anything to avoid reconstruction. So I'm like, sir, I honestly, you know what? Whatever it looks like, because he said, oh, it'll still be fully functional, blah, 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 blah. It just might look weird. And I said, be honest, doctor, they all look weird to begin with, so I don't care what it looks like. Let me just ask, said, let me ask my wife, because not to be crass, like, not to be gross or anything, but honestly, she's the one who has to deal with it. So, I mean, if she's okay with whatever's going on down there, I mean, who am I to complain? I don't care.
Exactly.
So I asked her, she's like, what the hell is wrong with you? Do it. Like, if you know, the success rate is 95% compared to 85%. Because with my luck, if we did the reconstruction, I'd be in there, be out for 4 weeks, and then it still wouldn't work, you know? So I'm like, let's go with the 95%. Oh, God. So the the option is a I keep wanting to say myotomy, but it's myotomy or something. They use the forceps to grab the head of your penis, and then essentially they crush it. And then while it's crushed, they take the scalpel, or I think they might use surgeon scissors or whatever. I'm down, by the way, over here.
I'm coming.
And they cut from the hole. I think they pretty much just stick the scissors in the hole, and then just cut down to the base of the head. Did I not tell you this part?
No.
So yeah, essentially they take the penis hole and make it like an inch long, going from where it's supposed to be all the way to the base of your penis.
Jesus.
So yeah, I wake up from that surgery and my dick is just wrapped up like, basically it looks like, you know when somebody has like a broken thumb and it's just like gauze and gauze and gauze. It essentially it looked like that. It looked like a dog had broken its leg and they had the wrapped up dog paw on like attached to my torso. So that was another thing where my mom wasn't there for that surgery, so my dad had to bring me. And I remember my mom was really nervous about it because she had taken me to the other ones. And she was like, he's going to be out of it, so make sure you pay a lot of attention to the doctor's instructions so you can relay them so Patrick knows what to do. My dad paid no attention whatsoever. Like, so I was like, all right, Dad, so, do I remove the gauze, and if so, when? He's like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, do I go back in for them to remove it? Because at this point, I'm terrified of what if the skin heals over the gauze, you know? Like, what if it heals together? I need to know these things. But at the same time, I didn't want to remove the gauze myself. Like, yes, Philip, yes. Like, I really didn't want to remove any of the gauze. Because it was horrifying. It was just, and it was all bloody. Like, it was just bloody gauze surrounding my penis. Yeah, shh, yes. God damn it. So yet again, I got into the shower and very, very, very slowly unwrapped it. I took one look at the doctor's finished work, and since that time, and it's been about 1.5 years now, since that time I have not looked down. I have not looked at the underside of my penis. From the top it looks normal, so it's fine. From the bottom it looks like a Cenobites penis. Like we have such sights to show you.
Yes.
It's not cool. And even one of the times I went back for a one of the times I went back for a follow-up visit, the doctor said, "So, how's it healing? How's it look down there?" And I said, "I don't know." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I forgot you're weird about that." I said, Sir, you're the one who chose this profession. You're the weird one. This is not me." Okay, buddy. But I'm like, you chose this for a living, sir. This was not my doing. Okay? Mm-hmm. And because he was also asking if I would want to change out, because I still had to have a catheter in there for the first, whatever, 2 weeks or so for everything to heal up. Because I guess if they took it out, the whole thing could collapse in on itself.
Oh my God.
Dude, it's, yeah. So, yeah, I still had the whole catheter, and he was like, so, do you want to come back in for us to take it out, or do you want to just take it out yourself? And I said, no, I'm not. What the hell are you talking about? Because, oh no, that was it. I still had the suprapubic catheter, just in case, right? And the penile catheter. So I had 2 catheters. All right, buddy. I had 2 catheters and a mutilation at the same time for a good 1.5 weeks. And so that's one. There was the suprapubic catheter that he asked me if I wanted to just take out myself or if I wanted to come in for. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I'll probably come in for that.
Yeah. He's like, well, because he's telling me, he's like, yeah, that thing heals up within 10 minutes. So, you know, the whole time I had it in there, they would say, if for whatever reason it gets yanked out, which, fuck you, what do you mean yanked out? If it gets yanked out, there's a balloon on the other side of that. If it gets yanked out, that hole's going to be like, you know, a foot wide. It's not getting yanked out. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
I'm bleeding out. Damn it.
Right. I'm pretty far away, I think. No, I might be able to get to you. But so, when I go in for them to take out the suprapubic catheter, the poor nurse comes in, and I'm thinking it was like her first day, because she comes in. At no point, and this is my fault for not asking, at no point do they empty my bladder or ask me if I want to go pee, right? She empties the, oh, I'm down. She empties the saline sac. She empties the saline sac that's supposed to keep the balloon inflated. And then she just yanks the thing out. Well, I apparently had a full bladder. And so all of a sudden there's just a fountain of pee coming directly out of my torso. Just all over myself and the table. Bladder's right there. Right just under the tummy. But she just yanks it out, and there's a fountain of pee. And you could tell the look on her face of, whoops, I should have had you pee first. Like, and she's just grabbing towels after towels after towels, and it keeps going and keeps going. And she goes, hold on 1 second, okay? And she goes rushing out of the room. And I guarantee you, she said, oh, I forgot something. What she was really doing was she was going to ask the doctor, is this normal? Like this was...
Yeah, immediately going to see, question.
Yeah. Because when she came back, she didn't have anything. Like, oh, I forgot something. Let me go get it. At least, like, bring something with you so it looks like give me something to pretend to believe. And so while she's covering it up and all this stuff, and she's like, okay, so, I was like, is there any particular thing I should do, or, she's like, no, it should be healed up by tomorrow. I'm like, what do you mean by tomorrow? Or I think she said like 2 or 3 days. I'm like, well, do you cover it? Do you stitch it? Do you do... No. So I'm just going to have a hole in me for about 2 days. Like, and you guys aren't going to... Well, just keep this gauze over it. But it goes directly into my bladder. Like, what are you talking about? Like, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Just, you'll be good. Like, and that was the information that I got. Now, luckily, it really did heal up. It's okay, bud. Luckily, it really did heal up within probably an hour or so. And now I've got a nifty little scar for it. Well, I've got, if you count the penis itself, I've got 2 nifty scars from it.
I mean, one being the niftiest of all.
The absolute niftiest. The most nifty of all time. And I will say, dude, though, if I ever get to a point, and I told Marissa this, if I ever get to a point, if I wake up in the morning and I go to urinate and nothing comes out, we're done. I'm gonna lop the thing off.
You're just gonna shoot yourself?
Seriously, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna take it to that extent necessarily, but I'll just make peace with the fact that I'll never make coitus ever again. Like, I'm just gonna be, I'm not doing it. I'm not going through any of that.
How long did it take you to get the self-esteem to make coitus?
Self-esteem?
Don't look at it.
It wasn't a self-esteem issue. I don't care. I have no shame, Rob. I do not care. I'll wear socks. I'll I'll wear socks. I'll do the through the hole in the underwear thing. I have no shame. It doesn't matter the situation. It is silly. I'm sorry, Philip. No, I don't care. I have no shame in the matter. I don't care about that. It wasn't a matter of self-esteem. It was a matter of, when did I get over my fear, my absolute fear.
How long did the post-traumatic stress last?
Post-traumatic stress is still going on, man. That's still there. I can talk about it, but about a year later, Marissa got really sick, and we had to go to the ER. And while we're sitting in the waiting room, I start getting an anxiety attack, and I don't really get anxiety attacks. And I'm starting to just feel anxiety creeping up. And when they call us back there, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. We're sitting in the treatment room. It's getting worse. And then the doctor walks in, and he gives me this look, and he says, "You look familiar." Uh-huh. Yeah. But he looks at me and goes, "You look familiar." And it's the same doctor who saw me. Not the specialist, but the first guy. And my anxiety just spiked through the roof. Not only that, my case was so bad that he remembered me. This is a person who makes a living out of seeing horrible things. He sees strangers day in, day out with horrible ailments. And he remembered me. That's how bad my situation was. And he goes, "You look familiar." And I said, "Yeah, acute urinary retention." And he goes, "Oh yeah, how'd that work out?" And I said, not well. He just left it at that. The fact that he was so intrigued. He's like, what they do? Nothing. Don't worry about it. We're not gonna discuss that here, doctor. I'm already not doing well with this situation. Thank you. Let's work on your bedside manner, shall we? I'm not here for your entertainment right now. But yeah, no. But it probably took me a good 6 months or so before I was willing to unveil and insert the horrors. It took me a while before I was ready to open the box and show the sights.
Yeah, we have such sights to show you.
And that, I had that one just standing over my shoulder, just chattering his teeth. It was wonderful. It was a magical moment, really. But no, yeah, it's still, and it the whole thing, man. I seriously, I could never go through that again. I will say, if it ever happens to anyone else ever again, I do recommend going with the suprapubic catheter right off the bat. It sucks, but there are degrees of sucking. So, but yeah, that's.
But I mean, all in all, it seems like it went very well.
Oh yeah, no, wouldn't trade it for the world, Rob.
I mean, you have such a great story.
Yeah, I could have lived without having the story, though. I think.
I mean, it sounds like you've already gone through it. It probably wouldn't be as bad a second or even maybe third time.
It would be bad. It would be worse. I would imagine. For one, I don't know that they could cut up anymore. I don't because eventually you're gonna get, how far down to the base are we talking here? So right now it's at the base of the head. But yeah, no, I couldn't go through it again. I'll tell you that right now. I really couldn't. The pain was excruciating. The doctor told me after that first dilation, he said, "Hey, now you can tell your wife you know what childbirth is like." Which, you know, first of all, you don't tell your 38, 39-week pregnant wife that ever. Because she would probably rip the catheter out right then and there.
Yes, most definitely.
But yeah, no, it was absolutely horrible. Would never recommend that ever again. You know, the doctor was cool enough. You know, he didn't try, like, when he told me the thing about when he told me how they needed to do the cystoscopy and they needed to do it right then, or, you know, when I told him I couldn't go through with that again, he flat out told me, you know, he understood. Like, he didn't try and give me that doctor guilt of, well, this really needs to be done. You know what I mean? Like, he was like, yeah, no, totally understand. So, well, and he also explained to me, because of how narrow my urethra was, because I had a, basically, it's almost like a birth defect, how narrow my urethra is. Hence why they couldn't even get a child's catheter up there. But it was also something called medial stenosis, which is apparently a side effect from circumcision, where scar tissue, just light scar tissue, will continue to grow, right? And it gets to a point where it can grow over the head of the penis. Like a thin layer. It's almost like you can see through it. So you can still see the hole, but it's just grown over. So apparently is
this what has spurred?
No, that's the worst thing. That's the worst part. You're talking about my wife and her.
Yes.
No, she got onto that when she was pregnant with Philip. So that's the worst part, because she was already fiercely against circumcision before all of this. And my family is very Catholic, and so it's been a point of contention anyways. And then after this, like, it just got worse. Like, someone did go camping, pal. But yeah, she would keep, like, anytime she went with me to a doctor's appointment, she'd be asking the doctor, trying to get more ammunition for her cause. Like, she'd be like, so doctor, was any of this because he was circumcised? And he'd be like, like, he was hesitant to give, like, a yes or no, or, you know, like, he wasn't, it was more of a, I'm not getting involved in this.
Yeah.
And my mom would do,
before.
yeah, my mom would do the same if she took me to an appointment. My mom would be like, so, I mean, this doesn't have anything to do with circumcision, right? And he's just, like, you could tell he kind of looks at me like, oh, this is what you're dealing with. That's fun. Like, they would both try and use me to win their arguments. Yeah, it was unfortunate. My mom even was like, of all of the people in the world who this would have happened to, it had to be you with Marissa.
With that woman.
with that
married.
woman. No, my parents absolutely love Marissa, but that is a big point of contention between everyone in the family at this point. You know, and my stance has always been, I don't care